A new Marvel Rivals patch just dropped, and while there aren't a ton of changes, these are targeted changes that will impact the meta, so we're going to break it all down so you know exactly how the meta is going to evolve going forward. Make sure to smash the like, subscribe, and check out my Twitch in the links down below. We just hit partner, and I'm so hyped, but let's jump into it. So they said this: even the mightiest heroes need an adjustment every now and then, whether it's providing a quick exit strategy, getting a moonlit boost, or making sure Jeff chews before he swallows. It's time for another round of heroic tweaks to keep the battlefield as epic and balanced as ever. So first off, let's talk about the Vanguard changes. There's only one, and it's Thor. Thor's ability just got a thunderous quality of life upgrade. Awakening Rune new mechanic. After casting Awakening Rune, you can now manually cancel the awakened state after a brief delay. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this is like Christmas for us Thor mains. Like, I am someone that has played Thor more than almost any other character in the game. He's one of my favorite characters to play, and I was really disappointed with the changes that they did previously, turning him into an Awakening Rune bot where he could have basically as many Awakening Runes as possible, constantly throwing lightning bolts. But it came at the cost of survivability, and one of the things about Awakening Rune is you make yourself vulnerable because you have to finish it all the way out in order to move around again, and that means you could get gripped by a Wolverine, CC'd by Bucky, and it was really frustrating because you would often just die unless you did it super far away. But now that you can manually cancel the Awakening state after a brief delay, that's insane. It gives you so many more options as far as how you're going to play every single engagement. And now the entire changes to Thor make more sense because now you can be that Awakening bot or that person that farms Awakening a lot, but you still have the flexibility to run away when you need to, and that means you could like fly up to someone, pop an Awakening, potentially kill them, and then when someone else comes, you can cancel it, run away. It gives you so many options, and it really makes Thor so much stronger. Like, this is a quality of life upgrade, but it's really just a straight up buff, like a massive buff to the character, and it's really putting Thor back on the menu for me, and I am so freaking excited. Like, I cannot explain how good of a change this is. It's really amazing. Then we got several duelist changes. First off is Moon Knight. Now Khonshu must be smiling. Mark survivability gets a slight boost. Increase the base health from 250 to 275. And I actually ranked Moon Knight as one of the weaker DPS in the game right now. Like, he has really strong spots. He's good against certain characters like Loki. He's good against like heavy tank compositions, Groot compositions, but Moon Knight has huge weaknesses in the fact that he is often the target of a lot of DPS. Psylocks are going to be farming him. People are going to be like going into the back line and hunting the Moon Knight down. And while he does have more survival tools than he used to because his alternate fire gives him shields, he is often just a little bit too squishy and he gets caught out and killed. Even when he's like playing in a reasonable position, no one's going to be able to peel for you, and you can't really run away fast enough to get away from a lot of these good Psylocks. So that extra 25 HP is going to help him a lot. I don't necessarily think it's going to make him meta or anything dominant, but Moon Knight definitely needed some help in the survivability department specifically. He has tons of damage, he has great ultimates, good playmaking. It's just the survivability that is his weakness, and this is the most direct way to buff that, and I think it's going to be a good change to Moon Knight. Now next up is Star-Lord, and it said time for Peter to slightly turn up the volume at mid-range. Element guns damage falloff, adjust the maximum damage falloff at 25 meters from 60% to 65%. Now this is his primary weapons, and it just makes it so he has less fall-off damage. Like, he's doing more damage from ranges, which is kind of crazy. I think Star-Lord is actually one of the better DPS right now, and they're just buffing him more so. And I think this is going to allow him to get ultimate a little bit faster, poke a little bit better, and it really kind of offsets that slight nerf to his ultimate charge rate that we got in a previous patch, but we got the buff to the ultimate's range. So overall, I think this is a good change for Star-Lord. He was already good, he's just going to be a little bit better, but it is a surprising buff to him, not going to lie. Now, the last DPS we got to talk about is Storm. The winds of changing are blowing. We're slightly reducing the frequency of her ultimate ability, increase the energy cost for Omega Hurricane from 3,100 to 3,400. I think this is a direct response to Storm and Jeff Nato being super strong, and there's actually another change to Jeff Nato we'll talk about in a little bit, but Storm especially just builds up ult so freaking fast in a poke mirror. She gets to sit in the crowd, constantly shoot out damage, and just build up ultimate. There's even clips of people building up multiple Storm ultimates in the same fight. Really, really powerful, and I do think that a nerf was probably in order, but this has been one of the few times Storm has been meta in a while, so maybe it's a little heavy-handed, but I think that that team up kind of pushed it over the edge. The flying meta pushed it over the edge, so let me know what you think about this change down below. Now, there are some team up changes. First First off is the Chilling Assault Luna Snow Hawkeye team up, and they said this: time to cool Hawkeye's roll, we're reducing the power on his end of his team up ability. Ice Arrow adjustment, reduce the damage from 30, 120 max at 30 meters, to 25, 100 max at 30 meters. Reduce the stun duration for enemies hit beyond 30 meters from 1.5 seconds to 0.8 seconds, and spell field damage range from 3 meters to 1. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I perfectly understand what this is saying. It's a lot of different changes all at once, but the most important to me is the fact that it does less damage overall from range and up close, and it doesn't stun enemies as long. Going from 1.5 to 0.8 is a massive change, and it makes it much harder for a Hawkeye to follow up, or anyone to follow up on the freeze itself. I really do think that this heavily neuters this team up, because before it was really consistent. You could hit an ice arrow, knock a full bow, and then headshot the person. That's no longer going to be the case anymore, and there's going to be so many opportunities for people to just get out. Yes, having a CC from range is still really strong, whether you're canceling like Doctor Strange's TP or whatever, but most of the time, this is not going to be anywhere near as powerful as it was before, because it typically was like an all-in-one package where Hawkeye could always finish off his own target and just get random mid-fight picks from range. He's not going to be able to do that nearly as consistently, if at all. So yeah, this is a really, really big change. We're going to have to get our hands on the change to really feel how impactful it is, but I do want to make it clear, 1.5 seconds to 0.8 seconds is actually just night and day. It's such a massive change in seconds. So yeah, I do think this is a really, really, really big nerf. The next up is Jeff NATO, the Storm Jeff Landshark team up. So they're increasing the time it takes to swallow the competition, because even Jeff needs to chew his food, folks. Increase the time required to devour enemies from 1.2 seconds to 1.5. Once again, we're seeing an increase in time here, and I think that this gives more players a chance to get out of the Jeff NATO, whether they're using a movement ability or whatever. I don't necessarily think this is gonna make Jeff NATO bad. I think that team up is so strong, and even though it's more time, that's not really what's the most important, because the most important thing is that you could cancel out like defensive ults, right? Because, you know, people are grouped up, and you could eat them through all of that sustain with a Luna ult or whatever, and you're still eating everyone up. So it's not like people are running away, but I do think in some situations, you're going to be able to survive against this where you otherwise couldn't. It adds more layers of counterplay without defensive ults, while still keeping the team up really strong against defensive ults. So I think overall, it's going to be a fine change, but in combination with Storm taking longer to get ult, I think that this kind of brings that team up back in line, because we've been seeing a lot this patch, like the Luna Snow Hawkeye team up and the Jeff NATO team up had just been so dominant, and they're reeling all of these numbers back. And the last dominant team up is the last change on this patch, the Rocket Network between Rocket Raccoon and Penny Parker. So they said, looks like there's going to be a bit of a delay in the network. We're reducing the usage coverage of this team up, increased Armor Spider next cooldown from 20 seconds to 30 seconds. Now, the first setup is still going to be really strong, but it rewards you more for going at it at angles, breaking the nests, and it's not going to be as frustrating to deal with. Once again, they're reducing the power of some of these really dominant team-ups right now. Like, all three of these team-ups have really been what the game has been about for a while, and I think reeling these back in is really great. I think these are also, like, all great changes. I'm not gonna lie. I think the Moon Knight change is good. I think the Thor change is amazing. Star-Lord change, I don't really know. It's fine. And then Storm change, I think is fine. Like, all in all, I think this patch is a 10 out of 10. I really think that this patch is amazing. I might be biased because of the Thor change, but really, this patch might save the meta. It's actually so hype. I'm so excited. But let me know how you feel about it in the comments down below. Definitely smash that like, subscribe if you haven't, and check out my Twitch stream. I just hit partner, and I want to talk to each and every one of you. Thank y'all so much, and I'll see you next time.